Okay, so I filmed this video like an hour ago, but I was talking really fast because I was trying to get to Holy Hour. But now that I've been to Holy Hour and I realized I didn't really, my last video wasn't really coherent. So we're gonna try taking a more zen approach. I am sitting on the floor now and I have iced tea, so let's get started. This video is pretty much going to be all the ins and outs of veiling at Mass. Basically, it's the idea of wearing a veil over your head. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why I veil, my journey to veiling, and then I'll talk about some of the basic rules, I guess, for veiling, and then some of the more practical things such as like buying a veil. I started veiling at Mass like a year ago pretty much, and it was really just a long time coming. I started kind of thinking about it in my sophomore year of college, but I really didn't think it was for me. Just because I did not really know the true reason for veiling, and I didn't really know why it was so popular. Veils were not really a thing at my parish growing up. When I did some research on it, I bought into the misconception that veiling at Mass meant that was a woman basically saying that she was less than men, and so I did not really like that idea at all. I still don't like that idea. That's a pretty big misconception. Don't think that that's what veiling is about, but for me at the time, that's what I thought. So I kind of forgot about it, but then I kind of started thinking about it in my sophomore year of college, and I actually did try it at one point. I used like a scarf, not an actual veil, and I just didn't like it. I thought it was weird. I thought everybody was looking at me. I felt very out of place. And then it started entering my mind again when I entered my junior year of college, and this is when I had transferred schools, and it became pretty popular in my parish. I would say about 6 girls veil in my parish, and so I immediately sort of started feeling drawn to it again. And I really think that after a while God was actually calling me to veil. I think he wanted me to, and this is not to say at all that God has to ask you to veil. You can veil if you want to. Eventually I bought a veil, and at first I felt very weird about it. I only ever wore it to daily Mass, and really that's the first reason why I went to daily Mass, was because I felt like I wanted to try wearing it at an area with a smaller group of people versus Sunday Mass. And so that's really how I first started going to daily Mass, and ever since then I've gone, so I'm really happy that I began going to daily Mass. And in truth of it all, I realized that God was sort of calling me to veil because I think he wanted me to realize that I was a woman of Christ before I was a woman of the world. It's been sort of a reminder for me that my true beauty lies within God. My hair is something that I spend a lot of time on. I go to a salon, I get it cut, I get it dyed, and so covering my hair up I feel like has been really good for my true submission to Christ, and realizing that going to church is not always about looking good, although I do like to look good at church just because I feel like that's my way of preparing. But my veil is sort of a way of me showing that, Mass is about God, because that's why we're at Mass. We're at Mass for Christ. I'm going to dive into some of the other reasons why women will veil, or why veiling is really a thing. So for a lot of people who veil, the first reason they turn to is Paul's letter to the Corinthians, which is in a certain Corinthians verse that escapes me, but it basically talks about how women should veil at Mass, or women should cover their hair at Mass, because we are technically symbols of the church, and women represent the church. And if you go into a church, basically, you will see that a lot of things are veiled. The tabernacle is veiled, the altar is veiled, Communion is even veiled when it's put in the tabernacle. So there's a lot of things that are veiled, and so in Paul's letter he says, women should veil and cover their hair. Another reason is that men are told to take off any kind of headgear that they're wearing before they enter the church as a symbol of respect, and women are told to cover their hair. When you think about it that way, men, when they take off their hat or whatever, they are showing their bald spots and their gray hairs and anything they don't want to be seen. But a lot of women, we have a tendency to want to do our hair. A lot of us cut and dye and heat style our hair. So in a way, covering our hair is a sign that we're giving up that aspect of vanity and giving it to God so that we can fully worship Him at Mass. Some women who grew up going to a Latin Mass every once in a while, for them veils are a lot more popular, so a lot of girls will wear veils for that reason. Another reason is it really shows that Catholic femininity that I talked about in my last video. And that's, so important to be proud of and accentuate. There's the common misconception, like I said earlier, that wearing a veil is in a way supporting this sort of patriarchal idea that, women are second-class citizens. The reality is that it's not about submission to men. It's about submission to God. And that's really what the key is to veiling. That's why I veil. That's why a lot of friends I know veil. It's about submitting themselves to God. Even in Paul's letter to the Corinthians, even though it seems like he's saying, women, y'all are like second-class citizens, there's one thing to keep in mind, which is the time period of it all, but also the fact that he's in a way saying that women and men are equal and that we both do things to our physical beings in order to worship Christ. So men taking off hats and women covering their hair. A lot of women say that the veil can also kind of act like blinders because of the lacy parts on the side. It can kind of help them focus on the tabernacle. That personally is not something I use. It doesn't really help me, but for some women it does. So if you have a problem with focusing at Mass, maybe you could try it. And then one reason why I veil is because I personally just feel like I'm much more prepared for Mass. Even though I dress up for Mass, I dress up when I'm not going to Mass all the time, but there's something about wearing a veil that sort of gets me in that mindset of okay, I am in front of Jesus right now. I'm in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And if you guys want more about the theology and the reasoning behind veiling, I'm going to link some resources down below. I could write a book about what the theology behind veiling at Mass, but that's just a few reasons on why certain women veil and, why I personally veil. So just a few practicalities about wearing a veil. So I have 4 veils, but I misplaced 2 of them. I have no idea where they are, so pray with St. Anthony of Padua that I will find them. I'm just going to show you 2 of them. So I have these 2 with me right now. So this is my second veil, and one thing I do want to point out is that neither of these veils are white. Traditionally, unmarried women would wear white veils and married women would wear black veils, but that's something that not everybody follows. I know a few women who wear the white veil, and that's awesome, but you certainly do not have to do that if you don't want to. I've never worn a white veil just because I feel like I'm going to a wedding, and if I wear a black veil, that's a little too dramatic for me. But you can choose whatever colors you want, and there are lots of colors people choose. I know people who have chosen veils that match their hair color, so it's a little bit less obvious. Some women choose whichever veils to match their outfit. I kind of do a little bit of both. I will choose veils that sort of match my outfit, but I also kind of go off of the occasion or the liturgical year. So this is my blue veil that I mostly wear. This is the one that I pretty much wear all the time, and it's an infinity veil, so it's kind of this long tube thing. And the great thing about this one is it can hang over your neck like this, so that when you're chit-chatting after Mass or whatever, it's here. And then it has a little snap comb right here. It's very tiny and it's not sewn in, so I try to keep it on here or I will lose it. But fits over like this, and yeah, this is really good to like frame your face. It's also blue, which is, you know, the symbol of Mary. That's sort of Mary's color. So it's great to wear on Marian feast days. It's also really good for wiping your tears when you have a really emotional adoration. But yeah, so this one is from Veils by Lily. Veils by Lily is probably the most popular veil source. I've seen pretty much a lot of girls who veil. I've heard of Veils by Lily. That's a great place to get low cost veils, high cost veils, whatever you want, and they have a lot of different sizes, which is really cool. And then this one is my more immaculate one, I guess. As you can see, it's gold, and I really like to wear it for Christmas and Easter and other holidays, because gold is prettier, but it's not exactly tied down to a specific period in the liturgical calendar, so it makes it really versatile. I got this one from eVintage Veils on Etsy, and they sell a lot of more immaculate, prettier, more original looking veils. So if you're looking for something kind of unique, this is a good place to start. And it's got a comb snap right here that's sewn in, and so I just kind of place it up here, and then I let the rest of it fall down. And so as you can see, it's a lot longer. So I usually will wear this for like Christmas and stuff, or like if I'm going into Mass or Adoration and I'm just, you know, feeling cute. The other one I had, the first one I had, was like a purple one, and it was kind of short. It was maybe went down to here-ish, and so that was really good. That was a good like starter veil. And then the other one I have is like a pink veil, and it looks really pretty. And so I hope I find it. Another thing I want to say is that it doesn't have to be a veil like the traditional like lace veil. It can be a scarf, it can be a hat, it can really be anything you want it to be that goes on your head. What matters is the intention. If the intention is vanity, then that's probably the wrong reason to veil. But if the intention is to glorify God, then yes, that is totally the right reason to wear a veil or a hat or whatever. So one common issue I see in veils is a lot of people worry that they're going to be judged, or they're going to be, you know, seen as trying to be holier than thou. The intention of wearing your veil is between you and God. It's not between anybody else. Nobody else is truly going to know what is your personal intention and what your personal relationship is. And frankly, nobody really cares. I really thought that my friends would, you know, look at me funny the first time I started wearing a veil, but they actually don't care. Some of them did acknowledge it and say like, oh, that looks really pretty, but none of them were all like, why are you wearing a veil, like you don't do this or whatever. Another thing is that there's no such thing as being worthy of wearing a veil. A veil is not a tiara to reward you for doing all your Catholic things. It's a way to feel closer to God. So don't think that, you know, you forget to genuflect, that, you know, everybody's looking at you and thinking that you're wrong for trying to wear a veil. It's not about being the perfect Catholic. It's about submission to God. Another thing is that if you try out veiling, or if you're watching this video and you're thinking, I'm not really sure if veiling is for me, it's not something that I really want to pursue, don't think that that's for some reason a defeat. There is so much beauty in the choice to wear a veil or not. I truly believe that. I actually really like that veiling is more of a choice than it is a requirement now. And I have so many wonderful Catholic sisters that do not veil, and they are so close to God, they're so filled with the Holy Spirit, and you know, they just don't feel like they need to veil, and that's 100% okay. And the truth is, the reason why I didn't veil in my sophomore year of college is because I really just wasn't in a place to do that yet. And the Lord knew that. He called me to veil in my sophomore year of college, and I chose not to. And I know that He understood, and He knew that I really just was not in a place where I could do that yet. Now I veil, and it's awesome. You know, just don't think that you absolutely have to run out and get a veil right now. it's okay to pray about it and think about it for a little bit. And, you know, it's not a race. Faith is not a race. So don't, you know, just think that you absolutely have to now cover your hair. Another thing is a lot of women do get concerned when they walk into the church for the first time wearing their veil, and they think that everybody's looking at them. And I felt that too, like the second I walked into my church, really at the beginning of the school year, my first Sunday Mass, when all of my friends were back in the church. I truly felt like my little veil that I was wearing gained so much weight, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's looking at me, everybody probably thinks that I am the least perfect Catholic ever, and now I have the audacity to wear a veil. Again, there's no such thing as being worthy to wear a veil. And also, after 1 or 2 masses, you won't even notice that it's there. In fact, now if I don't wear a veil in mass, I actually feel naked. Also, if you're the only person amongst your group of friends or the only person in your parish that is wearing a veil, think about it this way. You could be the first person to bring veiling to your parish, and that can be pretty awesome. You have a right to wear a veil. It's literally in the Bible that girls should wear a veil. Alright, so that's pretty much my veiling 101. If you have any questions about veiling, you can comment, email, come see me. And then I'm going to post some resources down below for pages on where to buy veils and basically some FAQs. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. It's definitely a video I wish I had back before I started veiling, and I watched a lot of other videos before I started veiling, so I hope that you guys found it helpful. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye!